We have heard about many revolutions in history like American Revolution, Chinese Revolution, Russian Revolution and also about Industrial Revolution. But today in this video we will be learning about the French Revolution. Did you hear that? This is what happened on the morning of 14 July 1798 when the city of Paris was on the state of alarm. People were rushing and gushing and some 7,000 men and women gathered at the town hall to form People Militia. The king was being informed and he immediately called his group of ministers. He commanded the troops to take the strict control of the situation. Several hundreds of people broke in the fortress Bastilles, which was hated by the people as it represented the despotic rule of the king. This storming of Bastilles marks the beginning of the French Revolution. Revolution does not happen overnight. It is a political change brought by the people through forceful overthrow of the government in the favor of a new system. It is born out of hope for a better future. People participate in revolution so that they could transform their circumstances. People also willingly make sacrifices in revolution so that they could build a better future for their generation as well as have the right democratic society. The French Revolution was the revolution for liberty, equality, fraternity of the masses for the masses. The greatest and the most important wars in history often happens very silently, hidden in the shadows. The French Revolution was caused due to distress out of the political, economic, social and intellectual cause. Let's understand about the political cause. What do you think would be the reason for the political cause? Yes, you guessed it right. It is Louis XIV. Let's understand about his reign. Louis XIV, he was the king of the Bourbon dynasty who ruled for 72 years from 1643 to 1715. He was regarded as the Sun King by the people. He was brave and the most successful ruler of all his times. He fought several battles but an absolute despot. Immediately after his death, his grandson, who was the 15th ruler of the Bourbon dynasty, became the king of the France at the age of 5. Louis XV. He was very well loved by the people in his youth and he was nicknamed as Louis le Bien Aimé, which means Louis the Well Beloved. He ruled France for 59 years and progressively people started to hate him. The reason was that he was a stubborn personality, detrimental in his action, had the habit of constant overspending and he was politically abrupt and did not able to maintain the foreign relationships with the other countries, and this resulted into the war with Europe which lasted for 7 years, named as the 7 Years of War. France lost with Europe and this resulted into financial expenses and debt increase. In 1774, Louis XV died as a hated man. Immediately after his death, Louis Auguste de France, who was the grandson of Louis XV, ascended to the throne of France at the age of 20, known as Louis XVI. Louis XVI, he was born in the year 1754. He was a good thinker but was not bold enough to bring a good reform to the country. He was not a visionary and the people suffered due to this. Louis XVI backed up from his decisions very easily. In 1770, he got married to Austrian princess named Maria Antonia Josepha Joanna, very well known as Marie Antoinette. This marriage was a preservation alliance between France and Austria, as this was very common between the royal families in that period. Marie Antoinette was delicately very beautiful with grey blue eyes and ash blonded hair, but was unpopular between the people of France when she stepped her first foot in France. She was a social butterfly and used to party. Louis XVI was under her influence. People named her as Madame Deficient, because people thought that it is all because of a lavish spending that the people were suffering financial crisis. Upon his accession, Louis XVI found an empty treasure, and to satisfy the ego for losing to Europe in 1763 in the reign of Louis XV, France decided to help America into their independence, which started in 1775 and lasted for 8 years. France financially helped the 13 American colonies in their independence from their common enemy Britain, and this war resulted into 1 billion livres debt. Livres was the currency of France during that era. The society of France was divided into 3 estates: the first estate, the second estate, and the third estate. The first estate was made up of clergy, which consisted of highly priest Roman Catholic Church people. The second estate was made up of nobility, which consisted the high official government officers. The third estate people were again divided into 3 divisions. The first division consisted of the bourgeoisie class, which included the educated people like lawyers, doctors, teachers, engineers, etc. The second division consisted of the artisans, farmers, peasants, etc. The third division consisted of the landless laborers, servants, etc. The society of France was unequally divided, and the third estate people comprises the 90% of the France population. Let's understand about the economic cause now. France functioned economically by collecting taxes from the people. The first estate and the second estate were exempted from paying taxes because they enjoyed the privileges by birth. All the burden of paying taxes was on the third class people, and they had to pay taxes in different forms, like tithes was the tax paid to the clergy. Tithe was a direct tax on land. It included taxes on everyday consumption goods like tobacco, salt, etc. During the 18th century, there arose a condition of subsistence crisis. In subsistence crisis condition, there was bad harvest, crop failure, and this led to an escalation in the prices of the food grains, unemployment, and population. This was the hardest hit to the third estate people. Poverty and survival became the 2 faces of the same coin, where people were suffering in their conditions and paying taxes to the state general. There arise intellectual thinkers which moved their people through their writings and teachings. Charles Montesquieu, Francois-Marie Voltaire, Jean Rousseau, and John Locke, where on one hand the ideas of these intellectual philosophers were spreading into the society, and on the other hand the financial ministers of Louis XVI, Turgot and Necker kept insisting to the king to increase the taxes of the third estate people so that they could meet their financial expenses. So the king called for a meeting in Versailles on 5th May 1798 to pass a proposal for taxes. The first estate and the second estate people comprised about 300 representatives, and they were sitting in the assembly facing to each other. The third estate people, that was the bourgeoisie middle class people, was sitting at the back. The artisans, women and the servants were denied the entry in the assembly. Each state had 1 vote each, and this was denied by the third estate, and they demanded for 1 member 1 vote each. But it was not approved by the king, and this led to the revolution. There is more about French Revolution, like the Tennis Oath Code, the establishment of the National Assembly, rise of the Robespierre, guillotine, rise of Napoleon Bonaparte, and many more. But to know more, see you in the next video.